Name podcast. We've got Dan in Greenford. Hello, mate. You all right?
Hello? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can hear you all the way from Paul Merson territory.
I'm at work, so I might keep it down. I just wondered if you thought the PSR rules just seem to be exacerbating the difference between the clubs that were already established before the rules were in place and the clubs that weren't. So, some of the players at Newcastle have tried to sign, they just can't sign them because they can't pay those wages, and then they're having to lose their best player eventually. Maybe not this season, but probably this season or next season, because they just can't. They can't give him 300 grand a week, because then they'll have to give the rest of their team close to 300 grand a week. So it just seems to. And then you see as well the way that Man City just take the Premier League to court forever, and Chelsea buy them, sell themselves, and just Whereas Everton and Forest are getting dock points. It just seems opposite of being fair, really.
Well, and it's a good question, actually, and I think that will have more and more of an impact as the season goes on. Tommy, you're the one who's at the forefront of all of this right now. What do you reckon? What can you tell Dan? And don't forget, keep it low. Don't be singing Fog on the Tides, All Mine, All Mine.
I don't know loads about PSR, but can I interest you in a song about Bruno Fernandes? No, I think it's, as you say, it's wildly unfair, and I say that as a Man United fan who have benefited from this, and I know there's a lot of technicalities and where the profit comes from and how it comes in, but as well as Newcastle, no one seems to be talking about Aston Villa, who I think have been screwed as much as anyone with this, because you look at we're happy. But Aston Villa have been screwed by it as much as anyone. They've not really bought. I think they did just sign. Luckily, I'd submitted my 10,000 words just before they signed. They did make a sign the other day, but other than that, it was just like a backup goalkeeper. And obviously, they put a lot in January with the big loans signings with Rashford and Asensio, and they signed well last summer. I mean, maybe you don't need loads of transfers to kind of magic things together. Sometimes it's good to just coast along, and Emery's obviously a brilliant manager, but Newcastle is the case.
You do need a wage bill, don't you? If you don't,
need a wage bill.
There's no direct correlation between spending money on transfers and success, but there is a pretty good correlation between wages and success. I mean, I talked at the start that we used to think of a big six, and now through their own incompetence, United and Tottenham have dropped a level, leaving us with a big four. If it wasn't for these PSR restrictions, clubs like Villa and Newcastle could be promoted into the big six, but the rules prevent them from speculating to accumulate. Now, and obviously football from a financial point of view, it's a very, very strange business, and safeguards are necessary. But I believe that we have a problem in that the way that these laws have been drawn up, it does seem to establish set hierarchies that are then very difficult to circumvent, especially with the point that Dan made. Now that these clubs are so powerful, these clubs that in our lifetime, Dotton, were essentially local businesses. They're now global powerhouses with access to the best lawyers that money can buy. And as Dan mentioned, the way that Chelsea can structure their deals, or Man City can, because the clubs now have probably access to better lawyers than the administrators, the super clubs. So I think all roads are leading to a concentration of power, and that's happening globally around the world. I mean, there's a stat from Argentina which I just find amazing. River Plate and Boca Juniors were knocked out in the group stages of the Club World Cup, but the money that they got just for playing the 3 group games was 40 times what the winner of the last Argentine championship received for winning it. So, we are creating increasingly more and more mechanisms to centralise the money and centralise success in a handful of clubs, which is why it was so great, because football can always find ways to make the mighty fall from time to time, more than any other sport perhaps. And that's why last year was so great, with Palace winning a cup and even Tottenham finally winning a title. It was like a little message that there is always hope, even though that the rules are so stacked in the favour of the big, and it seems to me becoming more stacked in favour of the big. Great question, Dan.
Yeah, and what's the solution? Any thoughts on that before you disappear, Dan? What's the solution from your point of view? You seem to know who the villains are at the very least.
I mean, all the clubs are just doing what's best for them, so you can't really criticise them for it. But our solution as a Newcastle fan, believe it or not, is to just break all the rules and do what Man City did. If we've got more money than anyone, why not? Even if we get to win the Premier League for one season, it'd be worth it.
That's the thing. You are being screwed for trying to do things the right way, and that's what I think is unfair.
Yeah, it's a genuine point that a lot of people are making in the fan base, to be honest.
Sure.
And Isak,
like you can't get away with it.
Isak, should he stay or should he go?
Well, I'm just glad I didn't get his name on my shirt, but I don't know.
Yeah, well done. Astute financial genius that you are. Thanks, Dan. Mate, anytime you can come on, feel free. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, Dan.
Thanks a lot.